Patreon family. All right, today what we're going to work on is this Kimberly painting again with Santa, because he's got so many features that we can add extras to, advanced techniques. So I'm going to use him for my example. So what we're going to work on is making his mustache pop, okay? So fur on his hat, pom-pom up here, which I've already done to add texture. I have not added shading yet. First, we're gonna focus on what you need to do to add depth and dimension with texture. And then the second part of this advanced technique, we'll come back and we'll talk about how to make it have shadows so that it gives it real dimension. It really pops off of the painting. So what I'm gonna use for this is the light modeling paste. This one's a Liquitex brand, Basics acrylic, but it is a light modeling paste. Now a heavy modeling paste will give you even more texture. This is more of a whipped finish, so that is what I really like about it. I've used it for a couple of other things, so it's got some versatility to it, and you do use quite a bit of this, so that is why I have the large size. Now what I like to do is take just something simple like a little paper plate as my palette. Okay, so I'm gonna squeeze out. You see how it looks like whipped icing? Yeah, it looks yummy delicious. We're not gonna eat it, okay? I mean, you know how many times I've been tempted to just dip my finger in it like frosting? It's because I'm a girl. Okay, so I'm gonna get a wide brush, and I'm gonna use one like this. I don't want to use one that that might dry, the modeling paste might dry in and ruin. This is one of another set that I had gotten, and I don't even have a brand on here. Something like this would be fine, even larger. If you have one larger, that would be fine too. But first we're gonna talk about how to use this. Now, if I got too much, what I'm gonna do is continue it on his rim of his hat and on his beard. But my priority right now is gonna be his mustache. Now let's imagine that we are looking at Santa in real life, okay? Santa's real, I believe, do you? So the mustache is going to be in the foreground. It is the thing that is closest to us, more so than even the pom-pom or this part or his beard. So this is in our foreground. So we want more texture applied to his mustache. So that's what I'm gonna focus on, and I'm gonna just start by laying down thick amounts of this. Now, I had already started painting some of the shadow, and so I'm gonna try to not really get right up on it. Down here, I want to preserve that, so I am not going to paint over that or put modeling paste over it. Here, I'm going to go ahead and put it over the top. Now I'm doing it kind of messy, unless his beard and his mustache are groomed, then I think it's gonna be okay to do it that way. So also what I'm gonna do to this is I'm gonna add some heavy body, this is just what I have, you guys, some of the Liquitex heavy body paint, and we're gonna mix that up so that it has some opacity when we're applying it. You see how very careful I am? So I'm just gonna use this brush, trying not to get it in the ferrule, and just mix it in. And that's gonna give our modeling paste some opacity so that when this dries, it's gonna give it coverage. And we're not gonna see these lines through, okay? So I will be more careful when I get to certain areas, but in the middle, I'm just gonna kind of, lay it down thick and then push it and kind of swirling it around, because a mustache like Santa's has some major texture to it. At least I would imagine it does. I've only seen Santa a few times in my life, so, he might be rocking even a different look. He could be wearing a goatee these days. All right, you see how thick and whippy that is? That is what we're looking for. Now, let me show you the picture too. I'm gonna kind of throw this in here because you can see where some of the shadows are. Up here, where this number 4 is gonna go and this little bit of shadowing, I'm not gonna get as close to that because I want to apply shadow afterward. And down in here, as you can see here. So that is what you'll notice me doing a little bit, is avoiding some of that area to be able to add the gray. I'll be a little more careful through here. I am gonna touch up these sides and edges, okay? Woo, that was a lot. Guess what I'm gonna do? Freak out? No. I'm just gonna keep on keeping on. This almost looks like it's got a pearlescent finish to it, which is fabulous. Because you can imagine Santa's beard probably does have a little sheen to it. You know, a little sparkle like the one in his eyes. Okay, so let's move to this side, and then we're going to get a little bit more careful on the edges. It's almost like frosting a cake, really messy. If you really were not trying to impress anybody and you just wanted it to taste good, that's what this is like. So one of the things you'll notice when you do this is that you're gonna have just one solid color. There's not gonna be any, you know, tints or tones or values of grays and all that yet. We can do that. You, instead of adding white, we can add gray. A little bit of this gray down in here. This is almost like a purple gray. So we can add it to our modeling paste and tint it. Now, if I'm getting a little too thin on the edges here because I've got that whole fear thing going on where I'm afraid to get close, I'm going to come back and add some texture. If I smash it down too much, I'm going to add a little more. It's going to take a while to dry, you guys. Now let's go in. I'm going to wipe off this excess on this brush, and I'm going to immediately go and rinse this brush out. I know there's a ton of paste in here. So now I'm going to be more careful. Now, one thing I didn't mention is when you start with your brush, you don't want it wet. So I did not wet it when I started. Now here's where it's going to get tricky. I don't want my hand in this. So I'm going to reach around a little bit, prop myself up with my pinky so that I can get a little closer to these edges without getting my hand in it again, as I have done in a prior video. And up in here, I want to kind of determine what I need to hide and what I need to leave. So I'm going to get over those lines a little bit. Nobody's going to know where these lines were if I go over them. Okay? So I don't want to be overly perfectionist about it. But I am going to get in there a little bit. And I'm going to get pretty close up to his skin right here. And we're going to give it a little bit more texture in there. You see what I'm scooping when I do that? There's a lot there, but it's so easy to move around that it's not like, I don't know, it doesn't worry me that I have that much. Now, if this was just paint, you could do it too, but it's not going to give you the texture and the dimension that you're going to get this way. Now, see how I got it over here a little bit? If I have a wet Q-tip, while it's still wet, and I had a Q-tip here, where did I put it? All right, so we're gonna take a Q-tip that's wet, and we can just kind of wipe it a little bit off. And if I had my dry side, there we go, we can dry it just like that. It's not like it was a make or break this whole piece or anything. If it goes over a little bit, again, nobody really knows where that line was meant to be. Only we know. Did it again. Did it again. Okay, that's okay. After that's done, I can go over it a little bit with black if I need to, and it's no big deal. Unless I just want to make it look like it was a little thicker right there. Oh, he's coming along so beautifully. So handsomely, I should say. Now let me see. Let me get this down in here a little bit. Okay, a little bit more thickness. This is going to take forever to dry. You'll notice I'm putting my brush straight up when I get close to the lines and the edges and just pouncing a little bit. And that, whoops, knocked my light over. And that gives me a little more control without going in over this line too much. All right, I'm gonna thicken it up down here, leaving a lot of texture. Just gonna kind of swirl it around. And so I'm just layering. Now, like I said, it might take 100 years for this to dry, but he's gonna be so beautiful. Okay, so now we're gonna let him dry. And on the next episode of Advanced Techniques, we're going to work on getting tinted light modeling paste and working on the rest of the beard and the shadow, adding shadows to this so that it has even more depth and dimension and realism. All right, so that's it for now. I'll be back. Thanks for watching episode 1, and be sure you catch me for the next few. See you soon.